You've sown the seeds, now it's time to let them grow. All the mustard greens, kohlrabi and bok choy, springing up from the dirt they dance. Pick 'em up while you got the chance and sing with me. A harvest song, a harvest song. Flowers bloom, peppers, legumes, and more. And very soon they'll be fried up, steamed, or served raw. Springing up from the dirt they dance. Pick 'em up while you got the chance and sing with me. A harvest song. I can hear you already. A harvest song. All right, here's the breakdown. A harvest song. Ooh, a harvest song. Now you sing. A harvest. Let me hear you. Yeah. Swinging up from the dirt they dance. Pick 'em up while you got the chance. Ooh. Swinging up from the dirt they dance. Pick 'em up while you got the chance. Swinging up from the dirt they dance. Ooh. This song.
The Sierra Song and Story Fest was celebrated at Camp Peaceful Pines this past year. 26 years ago, the camp hosted the very first Song and Story Fest, and just 5 years ago, a wildfire devastated the surrounding area. But the camp survived, thanks to smoke jumpers who came to the rescue. The fest returned to the camp nestled in the Sierra Nevada mountains under the light of 1 billion stars, where folks told stories and sang songs around the campfire. Hello, I'm Brent Carlson, and thanks for joining us for Brethren Voices. On Brethren Voices, we share what brethren do and say as a matter of their faith. And today, we share the concert of Hannah Button Harrison, who was just a 7-year-old girl at that first Song and Story Fest 26 years ago.
Yeah, I was at the first Song and Story Fest all the way back in 1997, I believe. And I was 7 years old at the time. You know, I don't know how much is, you know, what I remember versus what the sort of shared memories of just reflecting with my parents over the years. But I think that, you know, the sort of flash bulb memories that I have of that time are definitely of walking through the creek, sort of playing in the creek with all the other kids. So it's kind of cool to come back 27 years later and see these kids sort of playing in the same creek. It's kind of neat. And also at that first fest is the first time that I saw folks like Sean Kirshner, who I was performing with last night. So that's kind of an interesting thing to come full circle, coming from a 7-year-old sort of dancing around while Sean's playing on the stage to sort of playing alongside or sort of at the same time as Sean. And I was also at the fest, the second time it was at Peaceful Pines, so in 2009, and then again this year. This is my first year as a music leader. So it felt fitting that my first year as a music leader would be my first at Peaceful Pines, where I started off. Yeah, it's been a fun experience. It's been fun to come back to this place and remember the mountains and, you know, the trees, and, you know, some of the people are the same, some of the people are different. Yeah, it really reminds me of, you know, the cycles of life and the cycles of generations and sort of passing off roles. You know, now I'm playing a different role. I'm sort of playing that role of the one who is inspiring the next generation, and that kind of feels cool, to sort of pass on the gift that was given to me.
If I were a fish and you caught me, you'd say, look at that fish simmering in the sun, such a rare one, can't believe that you caught one.
If I were a fish and you caught me, you'd say, look at that fish, heaviest in the sea. You'd win first prize if you caught me. Why is everybody on the internet so mean? Why is everybody so afraid of what they've never seen? I was sailing through and I saw me flapping around and singing my song. I'd say, damn, they're cute, and sing along. If I were a rock, you'd pick me up and say, that's a nice rock, skippiest on the lake. Plop, 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 I'm the perfect shape. If I were a sock, you'd hook me on, say that's a nice sock, happiest as a bear. I found you, now I'm not scared. Why is everybody on the internet so mean? Why is everybody so afraid of what they've never seen? I was scrolling through and I saw me flopping around and singing my song. I say, damn, they're cute, and sing along. How lucky are we, all the fish in the sea? I get to be you, I get to be me. Just let me be, we're as free as can be. The youest of you, and the meanest of me.
If I were a fish, if I were a fish, if I were a fish, if I were a fish.
Hannah, tell us about your schooling. And did you study music?
I went to college in Minnesota at Carleton College, at a small liberal arts college in Minnesota. And I started studying music there sort of growing up. I was always interested in music, and I think that a big part of that was because of coming to Song and Story Fest every year. And at the very least, that passion was absolutely stoked by coming here every year and being with these people and being inspired by all the amazing musicians. And so, yeah, so I Yeah, so I studied music composition and vocal performance at Carleton. And after I graduated from college, I went to BVS for 2 years.
Hannah served in Brethren Volunteer Service for 2 years and at 2 different projects. The first was in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, my project in DC was at the Capital Area Food Bank. I was part of what we called the Fresh Produce Grant, which basically I was in charge of facilitating relationships with local farmers in the greater DC area, DC metro area, and getting them to have relationships with feeding organizations in the area. So soup kitchens and food pantries, getting them connected so that the food pantries, soup kitchens, etc., could have fresh produce for their meals, for their pantry, etc. My second year, I would join her in Belfast. I worked at the East Belfast mission in East Belfast, and that was a really cool experience, not only in doing social justice work, but also in getting steeped in the musical culture of the area. I did a set of songs in Irish for my concert last night, and those were songs that I learned as a part of this program called Tourists, which is the Irish language program put on by East Belfast Mission. And East Belfast Mission is a Methodist mission that is tailored mostly, that supports mostly the Protestant community in Belfast, because Belfast is still a very segregated city, and most of the communities are segregated by Catholic and Protestant. So the unique part of Tourists was that they were, and still are, teaching the Irish language to Protestants, which is highly unusual, as the Irish language has been politicized in Northern Ireland, even though 100 years ago the census records show that both Catholics and Protestants spoke Irish in the house. So it was sort of like something that got lost with the conflict in Northern Ireland, with the Troubles. And so then there's both a reclaiming of Protestant culture with learning Irish, and then also bridging, creating a bridge between the two, those two identities, because they do have this shared heritage. And not everybody liked that program, because it was, by its nature, politicized, because the language is politicized. And so that was a very unique experience. They kind of brought me in because I knew how to play guitar, so they had me play guitar for the Irish singing group. It was just a bunch of folks who were all learning Irish together, and really wanted to sing Irish music and learn Irish music. So I learned both of those tunes through that program.
It sounds like that was a door-opening experience for you.
Yeah, that was one of my absolute favorite things that I did there. And I learned how to play the bowran, which is the Irish drum.
Russian savannah, take the culture. Rangoyana to Clohina, sister Cobana Boya. Or on a doctrine of when you can see this go back and bump forward you.
Hannah's experience in Brethren Volunteer Service in Northern Ireland presented an opportunity for looking at conflict and the opportunities to resolve conflict. She shared some of her thoughts about peace and conflict, which were discussed at a morning gathering at the fest.
The whole theme was the fires of conflict and whether we should stoke the fires of conflict or whether we should extinguish them, and what is the role of conflict in peacemaking. And so Matt read a quote from several Church of the Brethren leaders talking about how peace is not just the absence of conflict, and in fact sometimes conflict is necessary for true and lasting peace. People who disagree with each other need to be in contact with one another, and there needs to be enough conflict for there to be reconciliation. And that's one of those concepts that I really didn't hit me until living in Belfast. This idea that you can have peace without reconciliation, that the peace that was being created or that was being sustained while I was there was just the absence of conflict, because they were building these extremely tall walls between communities so that nobody had to see each other.
It sounds like you returned home with an appreciation for music, but also deeper thoughts about peace and conflict.
Yeah, the music really stuck with me, as well as, yeah, this idea that separating communities in conflict isn't really the same as creating reconciliation between them, and so I think that has been, it wasn't the only step in my journey, but sort of to try coming to recognize the power and the necessity of certain types of conflict, and how, one thing that I want to work on in myself is to be less conflict avoidant, and to sort of lean in and see conflict as a step in the process of peace.
So 26 years later, after your first Song and Story Fest, you are now in the role of music leadership and performing a concert at the fest. You use several different instruments. Tell us about your preparations for the concert.
I think part of it is just bringing in and trying to express all of these components of what I've been doing since 1997. So I brought in songs from my time in Belfast. I brought in several songs that I wrote while I was living in the Brethren House and working on the Fresh Produce Grant in D.C., particularly the song I wrote called Harvest Song, which is all about fresh produce, or all about growing vegetables, and as well as some more contemporary stuff that I've been working on recently.
to find the boundaries and the edges, decipher the reflections from the form, to find a handle to hold firm within myself, so I can live from my own passion instead of grasping for affection. And I know that I can't change the stuff I'm made of, sometimes too flexible, sometimes too firm. But when I bumped into you, we made a form that was new. And I love the shape you give. You're my mold, and let me pour myself in. Shape me at your throwing wheel. Center me with loving hands. Lift me high, then push me deep. Oh, I love the shape you give. And I love the way we live. And I know that I can't change the stuff I'm made of, sometimes too flexible, sometimes too firm. But when I bumped into you, we made a form that was new. And I love the shape you give. You're my mold, let me pour myself in. Shape me at your throwing wheel. Center me with loving hands. Lift me high, then push me deep. Oh, I love the shape you give. And I love the way we live. Love the way we live. Love the way we live.
Hannah, tell us about what you're doing now with your education and music.
I work at the Preschool of the Arts in Madison, Wisconsin. It is a private preschool that is focused on embodying the Reggio Emilia philosophy, which, in a nutshell, is says that children are capable, and they are capable of being in charge of their own learning, and that they are naturally holistic beings who bring learning and engagement and curiosity into every part of their lives and their experiences. And part of what we should do as educators is sort of follow that natural instinct that children have to learn, and cultivate that. And so it's less about creating a curriculum and then implementing it with the kids. It's more about a process of observation, of engagement, of conversation, of documentation, of trying new things with children, seeing how they respond to them, seeing how they interact, observing what children are interested in, trying to dive deeply into the children's interests and incorporating all elements of learning into sort of long-form projects.
Hannah Button Harrison, thank you so much for sharing with us on Brethren Voices.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, I appreciate getting to talk about my life and my experiences.
And thank you for joining us on Brethren Voices as well. This is Brent Carlson wishing you peace, and pass it on.
This song, ooh, this song, ooh, now you sang,